So I'm going to go ahead and get started because it is 10 o'clock. And I just wanted to say good morning to everyone and happy Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'm so grateful that Stephani Carricker is here with from Hope Hospital to give us a little overview on finding your calm and building resiliency. And obviously this is such a meaningful topic always, but I can't think of a better time to be talking about this. So I'm excited to have you here and to learn from you, Stephani, and thanks for being here. And I think that's it for now. You are able to type questions in the question answer box, and yeah, so I'll take it away.
Oh, good morning. Thank you so much. Such a privilege to be here and be able to reach you all this morning. Thank you for joining. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. It's our month of May. And so it's just an honor to be here and help you find your calm and build resiliency and really just give you tools. This is my hope, is to give you tools to help you manage this perfectly natural stress and anxiety. So to begin, we have arrived. We're not going to be bothered for the next couple of minutes. I just want to take this opportunity to ground ourselves. I will invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable. If not, you can just lower your gaze. You are safe. You are in the privacy of your homes or wherever you may be. My hope for you is that you feel safe and that you feel comfortable. And I would like to set the intention for today. As we have arrived, think of something that maybe a power word that you want to set your intention. I'm a big believer on intentions and finding why we're doing this and our purpose. And so if we can associate it with the power word of, in this next 40 minutes, my intention is to be a risk taker, maybe practicing some of these tools. It's to be open. It's to be mindful and present. It's to be aware. Whatever it is that you want your intention to be, I please ask you to set your intention, what you would like out of this, and just let it lead you. Let it guide you using your power word. If you get distracted, just come on back. It's perfectly natural. Please take care of your needs as they arise. This is being recorded. You can come back and visit it later, but just please set your intention for this moment and come along with me. I invite you to open up your eyes, and we're going to get right into it because we have a very limited time, and I just want to share as much as possible regarding how you can manage your emotions. Okay, I wanted to begin with my why. Right? I just asked your intention, your why, so we can be purposeful. And I just wanted to share a little bit about why our mental and emotional health is so important. Inevitably, right? If we have an unhealthy mind, it will lead to an unhealthy body. And it's so easy when we have a physical illness, right? What do? We go to the doctor. If you have a broken leg, it's very overt, right? And we go and we seek medical help. Unfortunately, this is not the case when it comes to our mental health. And usually we have to wait until it affects us physically for us to even go and seek help. Right? So our emotional needs, they are invisible, and it has a lot to do with why a stigma is so present, because other people cannot see it, right? So it goes ignored. I have a stat here that nearly 60% of adults with mental health conditions don't seek help. Okay, and we usually wait. And that's the thing, we're human. We're able to tolerate a lot. We are super resilient, okay? But inevitably, if we don't treat our mental health condition, it will start affecting us. So I also wanted to include mental health and COVID, right? I'm not a doctor, let me put that out there, but there is, what we're learning is that there is a neurological component. If you have been diagnosed with COVID, 1 in 5 people will experience a psychiatric diagnosis within the next 3 months. And those are for individuals that had never had any predisposition or any mental health condition before that, right? So COVID in itself has a neurological component. For our kiddos, our little ones, right? The CDC has found that children 5 to 11, the numbers for seeking mental health treatment in the emergency room has risen, right? In 2020. For our adolescents as well, 31%. Now, suicide is the second leading cause of death for kids ages 12 to 18, right? Our mental health, it's in the forefront, right? We cannot ignore. Right? We cannot ignore these numbers. We can no longer ignore our mental health. And so this is my why, hopefully to give you tools to help you manage these emotions. Just to continue on, the main mental health or pandemic related health condition has been anxiety, or mental health condition has been anxiety and depression. And for me as a clinician, that just makes a lot of sense. Anxiety, fear. We no longer feel safe. There is a threat, or even if it's this perceived threat, right? And then depression. There's so much grief and loss, right? We are sad. And grief, by the definition of David Kessler, who's a renowned expert on grief and loss, it's a change that we did not want. This pandemic, so many changes that we did not want, and we were forced to adjust, right? We are reeling. These are the effects. There's like this collective trauma that the pandemic has caused, right? So it's no surprise that we are anxious and we are depressed and we are reacting totally normal, right? It's the event that is abnormal. Okay, so we are having a normal human reaction to an abnormal event. Okay, so if anything, please let me normalize that this is perfectly natural for us. But at a certain point, yes, okay, it's here. What do we do, right? We don't focus on the problem. We know what the problem is. Let's look for solutions. Okay, a little more about 211 in Orange County and numbers, right? So mental health, substance abuse addictions. They did a comparison on when the pandemic, the closures began in March 2020 until now. And 211 saw the increase of 42% for mental health and addiction services, 22% increase for legal affairs. There's a lot of domestic violence going on, just needs. And in the bottom here, this little graph, right? When I think about our mental health, if I'm worried about my housing, if I'm worried about where I'm going to get food, if I'm worried about healthcare, these are stressors. Inevitably, these things pile up. And again, yes, we can tolerate a lot, but this is overwhelming. This is overwhelming. It's our basic needs, right? Our sense of safety. Naturally, it's going to affect our mental health. Okay, so just wanted to show you a little bit of where Orange County is specifically, 211. And now the inevitable return to normalcy, right? So it's been over a year. And so we're going to feel a certain way about it. It could be a blessing for some and a curse for others, okay? Because certain individuals have gotten accustomed to living in their COVID caves, right? This is where I'm safe. This is something I can control. And now you're exposing me this extreme fear of the disease. And then I have to reacclimate into society, right? Some individuals do not feel safe. And for others, they have found that the pandemic has brought up positive changes, right? In my work, the challenge was find the silver lining, find the silver linings that have to be positive. And there have been, right? We were successful in finding those. So we're afraid of losing what we've gained. Natural. This is all perfectly normal, okay? So, however, right, we can't stop the inevitable, right, of everything we've been pining for, we've been working towards so diligently, but we're going to feel a certain way. I always say, feel your feelings that are meant to be felt. Okay, and just a little activity to do at home, to do with your family, to do in the workplace. It's kind of a challenge, right? And it's a stop, start, and continue. Now that I have to go back, what did I stop doing because of the pandemic? And I'll go first, right? I stopped eating out. Everything was closed. We couldn't, and my bank thanked me for it. I was able to find out how frivolous I was, with my spending. And so that is something that I'm going to stop. I started because my hours changed. I started playing with my kids in daytime. Right? In the daylight, playing outside with them more because I'm not getting home so late. And something that I will continue is our family movie night. Something that started out of necessity because my kids were bored and I had to fill up the time has become a time for our union, a time for us to bond, and ritual for us of sorts, okay? That I will continue. So this, I think, my main takeaway is let's focus on what we can control. Right? I can control that I'm going to continue this ritual for my family that came out of something really dark. Okay. And now it's a moment that I love. Okay. If we didn't have the opportunity, what is something that maybe I've noticed that I want to stop or maybe start or continue? Okay. And it's a good time to talk and have this discussion as a family. Okay. Because we are going back, I wanted to share some tips, and this can really be applied in the classroom, in the workplace, as parents, as leaders, to your students, as teachers, just something that we can start, conversation starters, right? And it really begins with transparency, being open and honest. I think with anxiety or any mental health, we tend to want to avoid it. Maybe it's out of my scope, it's not in my league, right? But let's just be practical about it and let's address it, right? Let's not avoid it. Let's talk about it. Let's invite them. Let me talk about my own anxieties. For our leaders, our teachers, let's help them feel safe. We're not guaranteeing safety, right? But we are saying, these are the precautions. This is just saying we've thought about it. We're thinking about it. And these are the steps that we're taking to help you feel safe. Okay, always having this discussion. But let's be frank, we cannot guarantee safety, right? We're going back. And so they're going to feel exposed. And so we just have to say, we're not focusing on the problem. It's the solutions that we've come up with. Okay, always communicating as clearly as possible. For a lot of individuals, it's the anticipation, right? So we like with anxiety, we don't like the unknown. We want to know it. And sometimes we're not going to know it all, but it's the guarantee that as soon as I know, you will know. Promise, right? And that's for parents as well. Okay. And some things I think, with the pandemic, we have been so creative and innovative. Let's not stop that, please, right? So let's continue this conversation. Having this connection is greater than the curriculum or the outcomes, right? We're just going to really connect on a human level. What is it that my staff, what is it that my students, what is it that my kid needs, right? In the work setting or in the classroom, do they need a break? Do they need fresh air? Individuals are going to be maybe having to wear masks inside. They're not used to that. They've been from home. So let's just kind of be really in tune to their needs. And so this creativity piece is what can I do within my institution, within my home, with my workplace, to be creative. Right? Maybe it's a survey, maybe it's an opinion. Maybe that distress call is an email in pink writing, and that tells me I need to go outside. I need to take my mask off, right? Maybe it's a comfort object from home. Individuals have been working from home. Kiddos have been working from home. And it doesn't have to be, extravagant or anything. I bring in my lucky elephant, right? It's tiny. I have it with me. It's in my pocket. Okay. This makes me, I feel like I have that control. Let's give that to them. Let's invite them, right? To feel nurtured, to feel safe. Okay. Just things to think about. And for parents and caregivers, I think so many times it's so easy to, not on purpose, but not validate our child's grief, right? Because it doesn't measure up to big problems or, adult stuff. You're not worrying about your mortgage or the rent or bringing food. You just lost a year in school. You weren't with your friends, right? Grief is a change we didn't want. They are experiencing grief. And I think a lot of the times we tend to minimize it. And so let's just kind of be aware, right? Let's just validate. And even though we don't have to agree, we can still validate and we can make them feel seen and heard. Okay, so they are mourning the loss, and we can't negate, we cannot deny that some kiddos did lose their parents or did lose a loved one. Okay, so grief is persistent. We are dealing with a lot of grief. So let's witness it for them, okay, and not deny it. Another thing is is going to be communication. Let's be open about our own anxieties, talk about it. For adolescents, don't probe. Just kind of like, so casual. I read this article or I mentioned this, and then let the conversation begin naturally. For the little ones, yes, I model, right? Mommy is very anxious. And so this is why we're going for a walk. This is what we're doing. She brought her lucky elephant. She does, and so we're talking about all these things we're modeling for them. And if we can, let's pre-process with them. Let's do a trial run, right? And even for parents, let's get back into the routine. It takes so, we've gotten out of our routine. And so that morning hustle, breakfast, all these things, let's do a trial run. Let's do a mock driving to school. This is me dropping you off, let's just get them to release some of the anxiety, because a lot of the anxiety is about what we're anticipating. Okay, so let's get rid of that. This is a visual, this is a guide. And please, if anything, can we lower the bar? Right? Can we wipe the slate clean? So much has changed in the last year. We cannot expect that they're going to hop right back into that kiddo who they were before. No, we pleaded with them to please adjust to this new norm. And now we're just like, we can't expect them to go back to that. So I always say when I'm working with my adolescents, especially if they have anxiety, they tend to go to the perfection. You're not feeling your best. How could you possibly do your best? Okay, so I always say, can we be good with 80%? And then lower a 10, right? Go into it knowing this isn't going to be my best work, but it's satisfactory. Because if we wait until I can do it perfectly, it's never going to happen. And then it just, it piles on top of another. And then it gets really, really overwhelming. So I am okay with satisfactory work. For parents, I am okay, right? I'm going to lower the bar. I'm going to wipe it clean, and I'm going to slowly let you adjust. I'm not going to push. Okay, because all of us are not the same. right? We've all changed in one way or another. That's grief. Okay, we've all changed. So let's not try to return to the person we were. Okay. So we are in the middle of a mental health crisis. Fear and anxiety is inevitable. It's perfectly normal. And it's so easy to get lost in the things that are out of our control. While it's perfectly natural, it's not useful and it's not helpful, right? So we really do need to focus on the things that are under our control. What can I do? Okay. And I love this quote by Russ Harris. I'm just going to read it out loud. When a big storm blows up, the boats in the harbor drop anchor, because if they don't, they will get swept out to sea. And of course, dropping anchor doesn't make the storm go away. Anchors can't control the weather, but it can hold the boat steady in the harbor until the storm passes on its own good time. So this is my purpose. I want to give you anchors, right? I want to give you tools to help you self-soothe, right? Because we can't control what is around us and all the chaos. We have no control over that, but I can control myself and I can center myself. And this is my hope, that I give you those tools to be able to do so. Okay, because if we drop anchor, it's so much easier for us to control what I'm doing than to change a feeling or a thought. That's a lot of work. It takes a lot of work to change the way that I think and the way that I feel, right? So I focus on what it can do in the here and the now. Okay. So one good practice to do if you're at home, I think it's a good opportunity to just practice one of these groundings, and it uses our 5 senses, right? It's really focusing. This is a great one for anxiety as well, because sometimes we do need to distract ourselves. Our symptoms sometimes can be so physical and somatic when it comes to anxiety that we need to get out of our body. And the best way to do that is to plunge into our environment. So the grounding with 5 senses is looking into your environment, 5 things that you can see, identifying 5 things that you can see. I can see my water, my hand sanitizer, my flowers, my computer, just things in my environment. What can I feel? And I'm like very investigative. I'm feeling my mouse, I'm feeling my keys, I'm feeling my desk that's very nice and smooth, my purse. I'm looking for things, right? And we're counting down 5, 4, 3 things that I can hear, right? I can hear the air. If sometimes it's very, very quiet, I make it, right? So I start tapping, I start clicking my pen, right? So I make it for me. 2 things that I can smell, and I'm on a hunt, right? And I'm looking. And sometimes if I'm in classroom and I can't do it, or if I'm in the office, then I'm smelling my wrist, I'm smelling my hair, right? I'm just being very mindful about these things. And then things that you can taste. So I always, if you tend to have anxiety or any kind, or tend to be nervous, I always say carry cold water. Cold water grounds you, you feel it. Carry mints with you, right? Always having gum, just having something that you can distract yourself if you want to start grounding yourself. Cold water works kind of like a shock in your system. So it's very good. And then, so if you want to challenge yourself and it's really high anxiety, then you identify 5 red things, right? And I'm looking for red, and I'm on the hunt for red. Things that you can feel soft. Let's change the texture. I think we always have the opportunity to mix it up for ourselves. Okay. So today is not going to be a lot of theory, but I think it's important to know why our brain is reacting in this way. And that is going to be the biggest difference. Is I'm going to teach you the difference between the brain and then the mind. Okay. The brain, the way that it was developed from our reptilian brain to our prefrontal cortex, is survival mode. All our brain wants to do is survive. Our mind is our thoughts. It's our perceptions. What are we thinking about when our brain wants to survive? And it's causing this reaction for us. And so the brain is very reactive, and our mind gives us a choice to respond, right? We want to respond, and we want to take that moment of pause. When our brain starts taking over, and I'm going to speak to you a lot about the amygdala, it's very reactive because it's the emotional part of our brain. And we have to tap into our logic, which is our mind. Okay, so the biggest thing is the stress is the response to a threat in a situation, and our anxiety is our reaction to it, right? It's the perceived threat. Okay, and I want to just briefly kind of demystify anxiety a little bit. Sometimes it feels awful. I know firsthand, awful, horrible. And sometimes we think like it's the monster, okay? But anxiety, so the thought is like anxiety is bad. So I really want to switch this over to like anxiety is actually our friend, right? It's our internal response letting us know that something isn't right, that we need to get back on track and start taking care of ourselves because we are having this chronic stress response. Okay, so obviously, if it goes untreated, it can start setting alarms when they don't need to be there and they're blaring. And so we want it to just match the intensity of the scale of the problem, right? So when we're in a presentation, we like that little bit of adrenaline, right? When we're going to perform, yes, we need that, but we don't want it to be debilitating. Okay, so let's look at anxiety as our friend and not our foe, right? And with anxiety in our work is the ultimate acceptance, right? I accept that I have anxiety, so then I learn how to manage it. Okay, but it's just a basic function to keep us safe. And so there's different types of stress. There's good stress, again, that performance anxiety or the stress that you feel that like you need to rise to the occasion or rise to the challenge. Then it's tolerable stress, big moves, weddings, all these things that are just very, seem very overwhelming, but we can cope and we can recover, right? And then there's toxic stress. This is where if we are in this chronic stress response, your brain can only tolerate 20 minutes of this toxic stress. If it can't cope and can't recover, it becomes toxic for us. Literally, the hormone, the stress hormone cortisol becomes super toxic. Okay, it starts killing off neurons. With the ACEs study from Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, you can see that it's physically making us sick as a nation, and this having this chronic stress. So a lot of disease comes from it. And I want to give you an idea what is going on in our brain, right? What is causing this survival response? And so I love this visual. Obviously, I'm not a neurologist and I needed it simplified for me because there's so many, big terms for me. But this is the easiest way that I can define it. And it's 3 key players, right? And we're going to talk about the amygdala. The amygdala is our superhero of the brain. And what it's meant to do, it's meant to protect us. Okay, so its job is to scan our environment and to send us an alert by sending cortisol, adrenaline, all the hormones that we need to survive, as if we were running from a bear, right? And so it's sending off these hormones, rapid heart increase, shallow breaths, everything that I need as if I'm running from a bear. The thing when it comes to when it becomes chronic, our superhero gets really jumpy, okay? And it's sending alerts to survive in situations that it's not needed, right? There's the perception of threat, but it's not real. Okay, because the truth is I'm here, I'm in my environment, but maybe I'm having test anxiety, maybe I'm running late for work, and it's already setting up this response as if I was running from a bear. So it gets super jumpy. Now, when our superhero is very jumpy, what it's doing is it's cutting the connection. This is if this were the brain, right? This is the emotional part of our brain, the amygdala, the hippocampus. This is our prefrontal cortex, which is our smart brain. Our smart brain, this is where our judgment and our wisdom and our good decision-making skills lies. When the amygdala sends us on high alert, what it does is it cuts off the connection completely to the prefrontal cortex. Because if I'm running from a bear, do I need to know what 2 times 2 is? Or any higher level of thinking? No, I just need to know, run for your life. That's all I need to know. So that connection does not exist. Along with that, it cuts the connection to the hippocampus, right? Our librarian. Our librarian is where our memories and it's our memory recall and where everything is our storage. So when that connection falls, I can't tell my brain, no, you've been through this before, you'll be fine, right? I can't remember all my coping tools that I've been learned from this presentation. That's not going to come into play whatsoever because I am panicking, right? That connection does not exist. So what these tools do is allow for your brain to fully connect again. It gives you that moment of pause. Okay, let me access my logic brain. Oh yes, I've been through this before. Let me start my tapping, whatever technique I'm going to teach you today. Okay, right now, our superhero, if you have stress and anxiety, is super jumpy, and we need to quiet down our amygdala. Okay, some natural reactions when our amygdala is on alert. It's
I'm
fight,
so
flight.
sorry, Stephanie,
Oh
to
yes.
interrupt you. And I'm captivated. This is all such great stuff. The bottom of the slide isn't showing, I don't think. Are you able to see it on your, like when you go, even this side, you can't see it as well, but like the last one before that, the last maybe line or so on our
Oh
view
no.
isn't showing. Can you see? Is that what it looks like to you too?
I can see the whole thing. So on this one, can you see the hippocampus and the librarian?
Yeah, it just cuts off like right after mind. Then anything below that we can't see. So which is fine on this slide. I'm just thinking as when you have more content on a slide, like the bottom part is not showing.
Yes.
I was trying to think. And you know what, I can see, I'll follow up by providing the slide deck to look at too, so people can refer to that. But I thought if it was an easy fix, we would just do it. But I'm not seeing, like, I have the option to make it like that, but it only ever shows a little bit of it. But that's okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
yes,
I will. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just thought if it was
no
an easy
problem.
fix, we would do it. But I'll send out. Yeah, even if I make it little, it doesn't show the whole slide.
Yeah, I'm sorry. And yeah, maybe I'll go over everything just so last lines or the bottom lines just to reiterate.
Yeah, and I'll send out the full slide deck too. Everyone will have that. So
perfect. So
okay,
some of the
get back to work.
Yeah. Yes. Some of the things that when our amygdala is on overdrive, this is going to be our biological response. And again, this is not something that we have control over. We're either going to go into fight, flight, or freeze. And then Dr. Justine Grosso from she's a wonderful psychologist. She introduced the fawn, which I think a lot of individuals can identify. So remember the fight, flight, or freeze, that bear, right? So we're either that bear analogy that we're running after a bear. So the fight is we're going to actually try to fight the bear, right? And we're going to rise and we're going to, this more presents in individual context, somebody who can be super irritable and angry and aggressive, and you're just like, where did that come from? Like, I have one way or another, their amygdala was triggered and they are in fight mode. Okay, flight is going to be they're going to run away from the bear. Okay, and so what that looks like on an emotional level, they have anxiety and fear and panic. On another level, there's the chronic worriers, they're seeking perfectionism. And then the freeze, these are the individuals that if the bear was on top of them, they will play dead. Right? It's just like they completely freeze. And so they collapse, they're mobile. These are the individuals that on an emotional level are spacing out, or they tend to disassociate a little bit more than others. There's a lot of depression. And then we go to the fawn, which is a new introductory for us. This is the people pleasing, right? People pleasing, avoiding conflict, and then tend to prioritize the needs of others. Okay, they have difficulty saying no, and it's really hard setting boundaries. Okay, which I'm seeing a lot in individuals. So thought it was worth mentioning. And so one of the biggest ways that we're able to reduce, because I might not have mentioned this before, but when our amygdala is on overdrive, it literally enlarges. Okay, research and studies have shown that there is a way to reduce the size of our amygdala, and that is with mindfulness. Okay, always kind of bringing ourselves back, being super, super intentional about being in this present moment and giving ourselves that opportunity to reduce our amygdala. Okay, so again, mindfulness is about being in the here and the now with no judgment. Our brain is so awesome because it can multitask and think about so many things at once, and sometimes it gets really hard to quiet down. But mindfulness is an exercise, always starts with deep breathing that helps with our vagal nerve, kind of quiet us down. Okay, for time purposes, I'm going to continue and then speak about resiliency. Okay, resiliency is in practicing these coping skills, right? The definition of resiliency, and I'm going to stick to the second one, is the ability to recover from or adjust easily to adversity or change, right? So just like this, I have my little mental health matters. Just like this, I can twist it and turn it in every which way, and it's going to go back. Right? So I can be put through whatever situation and I'm going to bounce back. And this is what we need. We need our tools to kind of bounce back, right? It's like if there's that storm, there's a wind who bends with the wind and it doesn't break, right? It always comes back. So this is what resiliency does for us. And there's many factors associated with that. There's our physical resiliency, our emotional and our mental, right? Just as if we were athletes, right? And we build that endurance and the strength. Okay, a lot of it, it's kind of, we use that physical piece to release some of this energy, our emotional energy. Okay, a way to build resilience emotionally is to self-regulate using these tools to build our relationships, right? To the ease instead of resistance. Okay, a lot of times I think when it comes to anxiety or stress, we want to push it away, but it's human nature it's going to push back. Right? So we roll with the resistance, we learn with the acceptance, we have some flexibility. And with our mental piece, sometimes we get hope, right? Sometimes I think it's so easy to be like, think positively. Well, we're stuck in a negative thought pattern. Okay, so this is work, and we cannot forget that. Okay, and having that attention span that's so used with mindfulness. Okay, incorporating different points of view. Okay, this is an article that I really recommend once you have the time. It's called "Wake Up: The Surprising Truth About What Drives Stress and How Leaders Build Resilience." What I really like about this theory is that it really focuses on our response, right? Remember how I talked to you, the response or the reaction, and this just gives us a different framework to work off. It's a theory that stress comes down to rumination. So the rumination is thinking over and over and over again about something that either happened in the past or that's going to happen in the future, but we attach a negative emotion to it typically, especially in the future. If it's uncertain, it's unknown, we tend to go to worst case scenario. Okay, or if it's in the past, it's our shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? And we sit there and we ruminate and we think over and over. Okay, so it's based on this theory and how to wake up from that rumination, that fog. And really it's that there's pressure and then there's stress. So the pressure is that there's an external demand, and there's demands on us all the time, constant demands or requests. And the stress is, what do we do with that pressure or that demand or that request? That's choice, right? What we do with that. And so the theory is that stress is something that you create. Okay, and a way that we can view stress differently, right, just as a demand, is these 4 steps to building resilience. And one is, yes, waking up and stay awake, waking up from that fog of rumination, from just that daydreaming, from just like going through the motions, right? Let's be very, very intentional, and let's control our attention the most that we can. Okay, again, using that mindfulness piece to be in the here and the now. And if we can, let's detach. Let's look at ourselves separate from the stress and things that we're facing. We maintain control, and then we let go. A lot of us have difficulty letting go. Okay, just a quick visual for more things for you to build resilience. Some of these are going to be external or internal, right? What I'm going to teach you today is going to be internal resources, right? Because we want to reach out to a friend. External is things that are outside of us, things that like we don't have, in essence, control. If I go to my friend, what if she doesn't answer, right? So internal things that I can do without depending on others. And a great strategy for stopping those ruminating thoughts. Again, our mind and our brain, sometimes in the beginning, we feel like we can't control it. So we can't necessarily stop them from happening, these thoughts, but we can stop them from continuing. Okay, so this is called a stop technique. Once you already know that you're in your ruminating, like, okay, I've been thinking a lot about this and I can't find a solution, we use a stop technique, and it's your own, whether it's a stop sign, it's your own cue. I've had clients who kind of did snap, so they like snap out of it, and then they can start a new train of thought. Individuals see a red stop sign. I introduce aromatherapy with this. I like a mint. That reminds me, I smell this, I'm like, okay, fresh start, something fresh. Let's start a new train of thought. Okay. I had a client who visualized that she was on a bridge, and then the bridge ends because she knows she'll go dive off the deep end, and then she'll go down that rabbit hole that she doesn't want to. So she'll stop herself from that thinking. Okay. So now we're going to get to the coping strategies, right? What can we do? So we have all these things. We know why. What can we do? There's going to be breath work, regulating our emotions, just an idea of what I'll be teaching you next. So I think a lot we say like, well, use your coping skills. Let's just cope. Well, what is coping, right? Sometimes I don't think we know what coping is. So I just wanted to give you, our coping is something that we do to get us back to where we were before. So something affected us. It's how we deal with problems or difficult situations, and we come up for solutions. Okay. And these are going to be strategies that I'm going to be teaching you today, how we manage and feel our emotions. First, always, let's focus on what's within our control, right? We're going to work on our foundational stuff, right? Just like a house, if our foundation is cracked, if there's a leak, we cannot build upon that. So we need to make sure that we are drinking water, that we are sleeping, that our nutrition, because if any of those we have deficits, or we're going to be more vulnerable to mental health problems. So let's get good sleep hygiene, make sure I have my water, drinking protein. Again, when I talk about nutrition, because I'm not a nutritionist, I'm only speaking to it in terms of mental health, right? What's within my scope. And so Dr. Christine Allett, who's a naturopathic doctor, discusses protein, right? The importance of protein. It's allows us to not have that crash in the middle of the day. It helps us stay focused. And so stabilize our glucose level with protein. Always consult with your doctor, right? That is always going to be a prerequisite for this. But protein is really good for our mental health. And she gives us a little lizard brain treats. This is when you're in active in an anxiety attack, or when you have somebody who is angry. It gives us an idea. So the snack of the sugar is a quick fuel, and then the protein is a lasting fuel, right? And again, remember when we lose our lid because that connection doesn't exist. So what happens is we're giving it our amygdala that time to quiet down, and we can access, right, our smart brain. Okay, so here are some options. Again, consult with your doctor if there's diabetes, if there's nut allergies, but they have different options of what proteins can be. So it's combining those two. And then this is a little picture of what we used to have here in the office, because people are having panic attacks in our office, or they do come dysregulated or angry, right? And so we always have that on hand. So strategies. So tapping. Tapping is just a way to regulate your emotions. And so we use this with kiddos. It's called the butterfly. You can tap any way, but really the only trick with this one is that you have to go very slow. You're very slow with it, because what's happening in your body, you're amped, right? And so you're dysregulated. And so I really want you to envision the left side of your brain is the logic. That's how I remember. Left is logic, right is the emotional. So I'm giving myself time to tap into my logic part of the brain. And I always associate a mantra like, I'm fine, you're safe, you got this, okay? It could happen in little taps. You can be tapping on your knees if you're in class, or if I'm in a situation I don't like to be in and I'm stuck, I start tapping my feet. And I'm just like, I'm walking away from this. I'm here, but I'm walking away from it. And so I'm giving myself time to regulate. So this is a bilateral technique. Another technique with tapping is called emotional freedom tapping. And so this is just the same mindset as acupuncture, that you're tapping into meridian pathways, right? And you're tapping into this because these are blocked. So it's just like clearing some of this energy, okay? And so it works by intentionally activating the energy disturbance. And so here's a guided one. This one I use a lot for anxiety, because you rate it. You rate where your anxiety is. You do a setup statement, and then you go into your tapping, and then you rate yourself again, right? And then if I haven't cleared that energy, then I re-tap. And sometimes it's not going to get ever down to a 0 because we're in a pandemic, because this is all perfectly natural, right? But it's just the fact that I told my brain and I saw the difference. Another energy clearing strategy that I like is based on Reiki. And so it's this, it's a Japanese word for spiritual energy. The way that I use it and the way that I incorporate it is I cleanse myself of energy that doesn't serve me, right? And so the dry bath looks like this. You're literally just kind of wiping from left arm to right, and then we carry a lot of emotional weight on our chest, so I wipe it away. So this is something that I do every night. I don't want to go to bed with this energy, so I cleanse myself, right? And so anytime somebody cuts me off, energy that doesn't serve me, I'm throwing it away, in essence. And the universe knows how to recycle it, make it good again. Okay, I'm a big fan of Paul Denniston. He does a lot of grief work, right? We're talking about grief here, and no emotion is bad. Okay, we just don't want to get stuck with that. So he gives you a different opportunity to channel this energy and move it. Let's just move it. Let's not get stuck with it. The power word exercise is something that I associated in our grounding this morning. And this is really the epitome of like, you fake it until you make it. And so sometimes we have to associate a word and then we'll repeat it ourselves 3 times. And then we become that for the next however long I need to use that word for. And then just for time purposes, I'm going to breeze through the next. Emotional banks, right? So again, remember when we talked about the fawn and the people pleasing, we are all emotional banks. And so we really want to strive that each transaction is equal. Do we have that family member? Do we have that friend that withdraws a lot? And the thing is, we don't want to be depleted, right? So our kids, right? Their job is to withdraw a lot of energy. So then I have to build that energy. I need to build, I need to save, right? But we want our, I prepare for my withdrawals, but we want them to be equal. I think too, it's just if we open ourselves, if we are in stress and anxiety and depression, we are in a negative thought cycle. And so we have to practice gratitude that opens up our heart for gratitude and the things that we're thankful for. Okay, just some tips there. And then ultimately, if you're addressing anxiety, we got to get to the root of the problem, right? Because it is thought-based. And so sometimes we need professional help with that. It's the acceptance that it's okay to be uncomfortable and it's okay to feel our feelings. And then to use those tools, because anxiety is like a wave. And I think sometimes we forget that we know how to swim because it's so overwhelming. And so let's use our tools as kind of like something to help us ride that wave. And just to close, just as we opened our session here today with an activity, I just want to close with a session. I'm just going to invite you to put your hand on your heart. And this is taken from our kindness meditation, but also it's very, if we feel the weight, right? Just like babies like to feel their moms here, this could be very comforting for us. I can use this in any moment of distress, right? To calm myself. And our body, our skin is the largest organ that we have, right? So a couple minutes of this touch can release the love hormone, which is oxytocin, which is what I want. And so I'm just going to offer you something as to lead your day. And then if you can just say it in your own, on your own time, but I just want you to say it out loud. I mean, in your head as well. And it's, may I be happy. May I be healthy. May I be safe. And as we wish it to others, may you be happy. May you be healthy. May you be safe. And if we extend it to the world, right, may we be happy, may we be healthy, and may we be safe. And this is my hope for everyone today. Thank you for joining us. Any questions?
I loved it so much. That was so great. And I have to say, I've been to 100,000 like little anxiety trainings during the pandemic. As a mental health practitioner,
Yes.
and in the field, you get 100 emails every day. So, but you have done an amazing job of just like the gems. And even, I took notes, like was writing down like, oh, this is so great. And this, I love this idea. And I love like thinking of the grounding activity as almost like a treasure hunt. And I'm doing it because normally I'm like, yeah, I got it, like it. But you encouraged me to like actually go through the process. And so many great, just keeping the water or the mint as a grounding tool, and having like the mantra attached to it so that I just love it. You've given me great food for thought. There was just really the one question, which was like, this is so good. Can we have the information? And I did drop it in the chat, so it's there. That is a PDF that you can just download. And I also will follow up with an email to anybody that was here, just with the hard copy in case you aren't able to get it through the chat.
Perfect.
But, and also a deep appreciation from, honestly, on behalf of the whole district, just being able to partner with you and Hogue, and just it's just remarkable that we are located where we are. Yes. And have the resources and the relationships. So.
Thank you. Yes, and I am very passionate about this because it is, we're in it and we're all in this together, and I think I'm very intentional in this presentation because I do feel like what we can predict, we can prevent, right? Having safeguards, having something to do, having these tools, because it's hard. It is hard. And it's just such a privilege to be able to reach the community. So thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for coming. And I love your lucky elephant. I was like, what am I going to carry in my pocket?
Yes, little tricks and tools.
All right. Well, thank you and have a great day. And this will be recorded and available, I think, in the next week or two for anybody who wants to rewatch it or share it with people that they care about. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great day.